And this is...
I'm Grace.
And we are Widnes Vikings season ticket holders, and this is our season review. Well, 2017 started just as 2016 finished, with 2 defeats both at home against Huddersfield and Wigan. Then came our first points of the season with a hard-fought draw away at Catalan in awful conditions. Then came 3 more losses against Castleford, Hull and Salford, before our first win of the season, a game away at Leigh. Then after another 3 losses, this time against Wakefield, Warrington and Leeds, we had a great home win against St Helens with our van crossing for the match-winning try in a 16-14 win. Then 4 more losses to Salford, Hull, Wakefield and Castleford before a great 28-20 win over Leeds at home, followed a week later by another home win over Catalan Dragons. Had the tables turned? Were we starting to hit some form? No. For the next week we got beat by St Helens. Then we beat Leigh at home the week later, before another 3 defeats at the hands of Huddersfield, Wakefield and Warrington. This saw the Vikings finish bottom and the middle-eights. This was going to be tough with Warrington, Hull, KR, Leigh, Catalan, London and Widnes all vying for just 4 Super League places. The middle-eights didn't start off too well neither, with a home defeat against Warrington. Then wins over Halifax, Featherstone and Leigh saw us in with a chance of securing our Super League survival at Hull KR, but a spirited Hull KR win the game and they were back in Super League. A home win against London and Catalan winning away at Hull KR saw the Vikings and Catalan playing a game that would see one survive and one play in the £1 million game against Leigh. In a hard-fought, nervous game, the Vikings came out victors, winning 12-10. A poor season from the Vikings. We need a lot of change, some good half-backs and some strong forwards to lay the platforms. Player of the season for me has to be Hep Kale, hard-working throughout the season. Young players, Ryan Ince and Danny Walker, both have a great future for the club.
My player of the season was Reece Hanbury.
So, that concludes our review of the season. Season tickets renewed for next year. We will always be Widnes till I die. Keep up the good work, lads.
Well, that's fantastic. Thank you so much, Paul, and particularly thank you, young Grace, for getting involved as well. What a lovely...
If anyone listened who didn't raise a big grin when Grace introduced herself, I think, definitely.
Fabulous, and thank you both. And it's lovely to see Paul and Grace's pictures from games and stuff as well, because it's a thing that they enjoy together, and I think that's lovely, and that's one of the great things about our sport. So that's the positives out of the way. Let's see what other people have to say about Widnes' season.
Well, Mark Butler said all's well that ends well. He was up in our neck of the woods last night watching Wrexham at AFC Fylde.
Was he really?
He said, you've got to question quite what the strategy is right now. The likes of Wakey are putting Widnes' grim attempts to stay in the league into sharp focus. Neil McEwen said, Widnes' utter dogshit recruitment severely cost us. Only signed average championship players, no pace out wide in the squad. Only Gallipoli had more injuries than Widnes did this year. We've lost 8 players, so the club needs to get a move on and secure some hard-working lads or we'll go down next year. Kev Judas Brown form has cheered me up though, the tit. And then Gareth Sunley said... You
get to watch him in a World Cup, mate, so I'll get carried away.
Gareth Sunley, a bit more positive, he said, watching Danny Walker in the first team, it's been a bad season for Widnes, but we still managed to get our first win in Catalan. Can we have less half-back combinations used next season, please? Some new signings would be nice. So far, we have out Bridge, Thompson, O'Carroll, Buchanan, Manu Okafoa, Brooks, Chase and Armstrong, with only Matthews and Wild coming in. But Danny Walker.
Yeah.
Big years.
Danny Walker is big years and a big future. Yeah, girl wingnut. It's kind of what I expected for Widnes. I apologise now for predicting that they were going to go down, but they were never going to be more than what they really achieved, I don't think. There's a lot of good stuff at that rugby league club, but it isn't the first team. There's a great setup, they live within their means, there's a youth system there that produces players that come into the side and they promote from within, and I like that. What they lacked this year was strength in depth. They, by my reckoning, had the weakest forward pack of any side in the competition, and they were not particularly creative. And that was always going to add up to a difficult season. Build into that an injury crisis, and you've got real problems on your hands. And I think that's what Widnes experienced. I don't think any coach would have done any better than Dennis Betts did under those circumstances. Yeah. So, I think he's going to be there next season. What needs to happen now is that Widnes need to dust themselves down and try and build on what they've got, which is new guys are obviously going to have to come in and augment the younger lads that have got all this enthusiasm. Hopefully they can kick on and do that, but really Widnes' season is... I'm struggling to find positives really apart from the young players that they had coming through.
Yeah, well...
in a season where they won the qualifiers, that's about it, really, isn't it?
Well, you said it, they had the worst forward pack. They probably had the worst half-back options overall.
Yeah.
Widnes had the horror year we expected, didn't they? They scored by far the fewest points in the regular season and conceded the second most, to end up with the worst points difference. Over half of their losses were by blowout margins of more than 3 scores, and they competed in the fewest close games of any team this season. They basically got battered very often. Unlike Leigh, who were rubbish but had the odd day in the sun, Widnes didn't really get that, did they? There's no getting away from them being bad in the regular season. They scored the fewest tries by 9. They conceded the second most. They had the fewest carries and the fewest metres. They gave up the most carries and gave up the most metres. They made the fewest breaks and gave up the second most breaks. No one was worse than them at home. Only Leigh had a worse away record. They were particularly bad at starting games. No one came close to being worse than them in the first half, and they weren't much better in the second half. They had a minus 151 points difference in first halves of games in the regular season. So that was the worst of any side, of any half. Where am I at? Right, I can't pick out any positives for individuals, really, either, sadly. They had no player that made double figures in tries or assists in the regular season. No other team were in that position to have that. Someone else at least had double figures of one of the two, if not both. I will give a mention, because there is a positive actually. 20-year-old winger Ryan Ince, he sort of touched on the youth sort of situation there. He had 6 tries and 7 clean breaks from his 9 games, along with 8.5 metres per carry average gain. That was top 10 amongst wingers, and over 100 metres per game. They were all positive and promising returns for this young player. So, one, to give you some optimism as well there, along with old Danny Walker. A serious point for mitigation for Widnes this season, and I think it'd be wrong of us not to really talk about it. The recruitment is their fault, but this isn't. The players, the amount of injuries to their players, I mean, no side used more players in 2017. They'd already used 37 by the end of the regular season, and that's 5 more than anyone else used over the whole season. If you add up the shirt numbers of the players they used, you get the highest average shirt number in the league. So we talked about what Cat is 11 point something. Yeah. Well, this was 15.1 average shirt number. Now, okay, I'll note that regular player Aaron Heremiah chooses to wear number 33. That pushes it up a touch. Yeah. But even if that wasn't the case, there's still not a recipe for success having to use that many players.
No, of course it's not.
A little bit more mitigation for me, for Betts and his coaching staff. And the players as well on that count, because they were all either recovering from injuries, or I know every rugby league player plays through injuries, but these guys were seriously crap.
Yeah, this was the team with the worst injury crisis this year, wasn't it?
Yeah,
definitely so. Okay, any more on Widnes before we move on to your mob?
No. Sorry.
Onwards and upwards for Widnes Vikings fans. Right, final team review from Super League then. It's your Wigan Warriors, Mark.
Yeah, and they did not achieve what we expected them to achieve.
No.
They did better in the cup. They were runners-up in the cup. We didn't think they'd get that far, but they were the 6th team in the end, weren't they?
Yeah.
And we both had them finishing top and winning the grand final.
Yeah.
Like I say, a few people got in touch, but then weren't really wanting to go into the audio review world.
Well, we're going to leave that with you, I think.
Chris McKeown said wank. White Pie, whose real name is Leigh, said dull and underwhelming, but the odd bright spot, Escaray, Davies and Marshall. Craig said shit. Mm-hmm. John Cassidy, Cass, to all of us, said really fucking tedious with a hint of underachievement.
That's what you want from a season, isn't it?
Pete Stott said mixed. Andy Barden said overall, towards the end of the season, a lack of creativity with the attack. Thomas Luluai and George Williams never really worked as a pairing this year. Hard done by for the Challenge Cup final, lost 2.
There we go. Okay, well, you're our resident Pep Wigan fan.
Yeah, shall I chat for a while?
Give us your season. I'll hand the mic over to you.
No, I'm going to do it in the same sort of way that I've done all these others. I've written some notes and kind of tried to cover the stats based and tried to take a little bit of emotion out of it. But yeah, I'm not satisfied with Wigan's season overall. Obviously, it has left me a little bit conflicted though, because I can look back with huge happiness at the World Club Challenge game right at the start of the season. We were fantastic in that game, and it was wonderful, and what a day. in the rain. Then that whole month or so of the season as well. I mean, think about it. We were top of the table after 5 rounds.
Yeah, true.
There were enjoyable home wins over Saints and away, actually. I mean, the home win was kind of, we got help with the sending off and stuff, but it was enjoyable to beat them on Good Friday again.
Of course it is.
And the away game was one of the best performances I've seen by any side in Super League this season. I think that was the 2 games at St Helens were both up there in the top 5 or 6 games in the whole of the season for anyone, I'd say. In terms of matches between 2 sides, they were great, and the fact that we came out winners on one of those was fantastic. I mean, the cup semi-final, that first 20 minutes of that cup semi-final was the most perfect 20 minutes I've seen Wigan play in two seasons. So that was good. But and then the cup final, we were close. We could have won.
Yeah,
it was exciting. It was but we weren't the best team on the day. There was a lot of poor stuff to watch though as well. That record 8-game winless league run through May and June, that was the most costly thing to our season. It was a horror show.
Yeah.
The 4 highest points against games came in that run. 281 points in total were scored against us in that 8-game run. If it wasn't for that, we would have had a good defence. It's just a run. I haven't associated that with any Wigan team for 10, 11 years, let's say. The Ian Millwood debacle.
Oh, good old 2006
was the last time I saw us be that bad for that many games.
Yeah,
it was awful. I don't think. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's just that was a bad time.
Hard times.
That was a bad time. Yeah. I think everyone who sees a bit of a remarkable stat, really, that Wigan ended up with the second best try scoring record in the league. They ended up 5th in total points scored. That was due to having the worst goal kicking success rate in the league. That's an issue Wigan really do have to address. Another kicking issue for Wigan. They was the only side not to kick a 40-20 in Super League, because the best halfback isn't renowned for his long kicking game. He's renowned for his short kicking game and offloads and runs and creating and all that. But Thomas Luluai didn't step up as the complementary half. It looked like they were going to get things going in that first few games. That World Club Challenge game was the best to half combo I played for Wigan, I thought, together since Smith and Green. But it just didn't follow through. That didn't see how that just wasn't the way the season went in the end for Luluai, really. Finally, from a stats point of view, Wigan were actually high up in the offload ranks this year, which is unusual. Normally it's hit the floor, play the ball, pass the ball, find the space. But this is one of them things that they tried to change up at Wigan, and it's not quite worked out as well as I would have hoped. That's unusual. But more notably, no side gave up more offloads against them than Wigan by the end of the final reckoning. That suggests an issue completing tackles. They didn't give up a lot of tackle busts, they didn't miss a lot of tackles, but obviously we couldn't stop people getting the ball free.
Right.
So it wasn't something I associate with seeing what I see with us. Individuals, I'll talk about some of them because there's 3 people I really want to speak about, but I'll also quickly just mention Liam Farrell. He had more metres per game than any second rower and a better average game than any other regular second rower that had more than 100 carries. Anyway, George Williams, we should not forget, had more try assists than any player in Super League this season. He had 29. He was second in the tries plus assists combined number with 40. He had more positive impact plays than any halfback in the competition. He was the best halfback in terms of positive-negative differential too. That means he didn't give up errors and mistakes and as much as some of the other halfbacks. Of all the halves, he was second in total tackle bust, total metres, top in offloads. He was top 10 in tries, breaks, tackle success rate as well, so did it in defence as well as attack. He ranked high in all of the per game lists for those stats, so total and per game. He was high up of all halfbacks, standoffs or scrum halves. So he was absolutely fantastic. He just didn't play quite as well in the Super 8s phase of the season. Unfortunately, I think he needed a bit more support by that time. When you're playing teams for a 3rd time, or some a 4th time, you think maybe they'll have an idea of how to get around him, and they did cut out a bit of how explosive and creative and important